Here's the record in here. And there goes that. You should be good.
All right, this is The Human Condition. We're live. And I don't know if this is going to be our last Zoom, our coronavirus installation, but, you know, we're doing all right, getting through these technical difficulties as best we can. Sean, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Today we're talking about spiritual reset. And hold on, let me delve back into the technical. Hey, Dave, are we up on
the Podcast Detroit page? Yep.
You see it. Sorry, guys. Do you see it? Trying to get the watch party going for you. Oh, there we are.
There you go.
Yeah, so I kind of let in with that. That was a disclaimer to our lack of technical expertise in the land of Corona. So are we watch party right now?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we're past that. So talking about spiritual reset. Spiritual reset, it could also be called spiritual detox. It's a way to flush out the nonsense. Flush out the nonsense, get grounded in the now, be still. It really centers on the concept of being still. And Eckhart Tolle's The Power of Now is probably the best book I've ever read on that concept. But there's so much garbage that we're inundated with that if you don't do a spiritual reset, you have no choice but to get pulled into this realm of finger pointing back and forth, anger, hate, stress, and there's various ways that one can achieve that stillness. And meditation. Some people like the gym. There's things I can do with my kids that kind of ground me. I go outside and I look up at the stars. You know, sometimes I just know.
You see the comment?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I think tonight is probably the last night it's dim. So if you got binoculars, you can still catch it up by the Big Dipper. But something like that, like me and Vinny, you know, I had this troll. It's the first time I've ever dealt with a troll of this magnitude. Like I'll have people on there who disagree, and I got people that are friends that we can disagree vehemently with each other, but we have intelligent conversations. And we know when to back it down a little bit and say, okay, well, I see that we're just angering each other. So let's, you know, this guy was a straight up troll and I've never had to deal with it at that level. And it was straight. He got me to lower my frequency, you know, like I knew that I was doing it and I kept asking myself, what would Jesus do? What would Buddha do? You know what I mean? I'm going through these exercises, but I still felt compelled and I didn't do it half as bad.
What's the attachment?
Well, part of the attachment was that, and I can say he angered me because he talked shit about our nonprofit that's mental health vets and the veteran post, but it wasn't just that. It's that he knew a bunch of my friends from the old neighborhood. So there's a way that in my egoic mind, there's a way I'm supposed to act in front of that company,
right? But
I'm not that company anymore. Like I don't do that. That's not my thing. So there's still a part of me that felt like I gotta go slap this fucking guy. You know what I mean? Like I couldn't believe I was thinking that. I thought I was so far removed from it, but I'm like, this fucking guy, like my whole feed was him. Like, and there's people dropping shit all the time, and it was all him. It was fucking crazy. So I said some mean shit to him, and I kind of regret it because at the end of it, he kept saying, unfriend me. I know you're going to do it. You're just going to block me. I'm like, no, this is too good, man. Because people get, like, really, this is an illustration of that other side. Like, people who don't think, they're all emotion. Like, so let's let this play out. And I'm not erasing you. This is fucking gold. Like, just keep saying what you're saying. And then eventually he said, well, I'm just going to quit abusing you and I'm going to erase you, bozo. And when he said bozo, I'm like, oh, maybe he's not from the old neighborhood. You know what I mean? I'm like, fuck, maybe I shouldn't have said some of those things, like slapping, you know, little bitch. And the fuck was I thinking? But to anybody who saw that, I apologize. But, I got phased. Got
jammed up in here. I got jammed up.
I was stuck right back here in the monkey mind. And And
That reptilian brain fucked me up.
5 years ago, though, I would have probably went, where you at, bitch? You know what I mean? That's what I would have turned into. Over some dumb shit. Shit that doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter now. It didn't matter then.
So the planet, and especially United States right now, everyone's on pins and needles.
Yeah, right.
So the energy
I guess me
frequency,
too.
the energy
Yeah.
frequency that exists in between humans is already at an aggressively elevated state of negativity. So for me to turn that switch and be like, I'm gonna beat your fucking ass, it's easy for me to go there when that kind of conduit is present everywhere I go.
When it's not intelligent, when it's not,
You know,
like there's no basis to it. And when people lie, like that bothers me because you can't do anything with a lie. You can't, like,
watch someone in line. Watch someone in line at a
Try not
grocery
to.
store or like Home Depot. Like someone will lose their shit over like absolutely nothing right now. Like the other day I was buying some boxes because I had to pack some shit up and I'm putting stuff in storage. And this one lady was like, are you using cash or card? Guy's like, I'm using cash. She like, cool. Grabs the lady from behind that guy and lets her go to one that's using the card register. And he's like, what the fuck? Starts like completely like overreacting on some bullshit. And it's just like, God, like, dude, it's not that serious.
it's not.
You know, it's not that serious.
It's not. And it wasn't that serious that this dude felt like he wanted to follow me. It was actually, you know, if I was being spiritual about it, you know, you kind of take it as a compliment. That's all you got to do with your day is follow all of my posts, like everything. You comment one after the next. I should have just been like, wow, that's pretty. You're not making much sense, and we can't really have a conversation. But thank you. You know what I mean? You're keeping it alive. You're keeping it up at the top. But I didn't. So back to spiritual reset. That's why you need the reset, because I know we talked about our high threshold for pain. You know, when you deal with things like substance abuse or any process addictions, and most people do, but not at the levels where it might kill you. So when you get there, or you've suffered great trauma as a child or in the military or whatever, you develop a high threshold for pain, and that's your brain is really trying to protect you. It's not doing a disservice. It's trying to pull you through those tumultuous times, and that's our go-to. You know what I mean? We go back to that reptilian brain, and when there's trauma there, the reptilian brain only knows survival. It hasn't evolved yet to the point where it's just a conversation, or it's just some words. Like it's survival.
Right.
So people are stuck in survival mode, and nobody's really attacking them. I'll get friends on these posts, and I can tell where they feel like I've attacked them just by stating an opinion.
So but in the survival mode, you're still in another mode where I need it to be the easier, softer way. So I'm in survival mode, but yet my brain's telling me I need the easier, softer way. Because the majority of people don't want to put in the work for survival.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
Well, they don't want to put in the work for anything. You know,
No.
Like this is the American
Give
dream.
it to me.
Give it to me.
Give it to me.
It's supposed to be this way. When
Yep.
it's not that way, I have to say something about it because
I
it's
deserve
supposed
it.
to be.
I deserve it. I deserve it.
It's the self-entitlement that the American dream. I mean, it was a fucking disservice. Like, I didn't realize what a fucking bubble we lived in over here until I started getting out. And I'm like, God damn. Like, I lived in high school until I was about 30. Like, clicked up. And you know what I mean? Like, I couldn't get that fucking mindset out of my head.
So, yeah, I got out of that relatively quick because I couldn't stand high school.
Either
And
would I.
I moved right out west. Like 18, I moved out west. And, you know, I always found a uniqueness in having friends of like all different backgrounds and all different cultures.
It's so important.
You know, it's kind of like, you know, AA, they always say we're a group that normally wouldn't mix. And like, if you looked at my friends, it's a group that you would think that would normally wouldn't mix.
But they got the common ground. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. The common ground is we need to survive, and we need to beat this ailment, and we can do it together. And that's a beautiful thing.
And you know, a large part of it is like I'm always gonna want like-minded people around me, but in the same respect, I want like a variety of like-minded.
You don't want foul people like that dude who showed up. He was just a negative person.
Right.
There was nothing. There was no intelligence. There was no research. There was nothing. It was just he had an opinion and he had to state it. And it seemed like he wanted to target the guy who was standing on the opposing side with the best information. You know what I mean? And do it publicly, which was a disservice to him. But it was to me too, because I lowered. But those are the people you don't want around. Those are the people you can't discount them out of life, but you got to put them at the back, the back row. Get back there, until you grow up a little bit. Then maybe we can have a conversation.
Usually, it's been my experience that those people are the ones with the most fear.
Oh, hands down. And I want to get back to the point. I don't want to get too far off, spiritual reset and why it's so necessary. So, and you're right. So this fear accumulates, right? And if you're not somebody who's mindful, if you've never practiced meditation, most people go through life, they wonder why life ain't what they want, but they don't put too much thought in it. They say, well, it's just what it is, right? So this I can go back to most people in my neighborhood, Hazel Park. I'm psychoanalyzing my friends. I'm like, oh, I know why you're like this and why you're saying this right here. I know why you get off here. I can see it. And it allows me to have conversations, and it also allows me to know when to get out, because I know you're stuck right there. We can't talk any further. It's going to turn into a pissing match. So let me back the fuck off, and then we'll come back to it. That's how good conversations happen. But I see the build, and I see where people are getting off, and I know where it is for me, because I know when I get that visceral response to something I shouldn't, like this fucking troll. Like it's even still there.
Yeah.
This fucking troll. You know what I mean? Like, I know when that comes, I need to question myself, because I know it's connected to something that's not real in the moment. Like there's something from my past that's coming.
Why are you taking it personal?
Right, that's the thing.
Like
That's
you have
the
to
question.
ask yourself, like, why am I taking this bullshit from
Personal.
a stranger? Why am I taking it personal?
And that's what everybody, I think, should be asking themselves. Why am I taking this personal? Why, when somebody posts something that is in opposition to what I believe, why do I feel the need to lash out? Like, do I think, like, and this is what it is, it's toxic shame, like John Bradshaw talks about. Like, you've assumed this role as a human being. We do it when we're kids. And regardless of how dysfunctional the family is, it doesn't have to be. But if you assume a role, so I'm the overachiever, right? You go through your entire life having to be that. And then when things don't align with the role you've taken on as a child, you crumble. That's where alcoholism, addiction, overeating, like all these disorders can be traced back to these identities that we assume as children. That's traumatic. You might not think that's traumatic, but when you assume this role and you can't get out of it and be something different. So if you've assumed the role of coming out of Hazel Park, and a lot of people didn't come out of Hazel Park, prison, they're still in Hazel Park, and they're still poor, and there's a lot of poverty there, a lot of lower working class too, but there was a lot of poverty. So if you're still there, somebody who got out is going to take a little bit of pride in it, so when somebody who got out and they've taken pride in it feels attacked, that role that they've assumed in their own head just got diminished.
But
now I'm being attacked.
What are you getting out of?
Well, they can't possibly get anything out of it, because I did the
Are
same
you getting
shit.
out of your reality?
Are you talking about in the conversation?
Just like, when you're speaking, like, well, like I had to get out of Hazel Park, like you really,
it's a mindset.
Right.
It's a
so
mindset,
it's like I need to get out of that reality.
What I perceived it to be,
right.
Which that might not be shared. There's some kids from Hazel Park.
Did you get out, or did you equip yourself with skills to manifest the reality that you really wanted?
I didn't get out. Like I didn't get out. I'm still there. And if you look on my page, a lot of these people, everybody in my neighborhood disagrees. They don't fucking agree with me, and that's okay. But I'm from there. You know what I mean? Like that's where, so I feel like, okay, a lot of people there are misled. And misled because of trauma, not intentionally. And a lot of these people are good fucking people. You know, they're really good people. And some of the shit they say, it can be misconstrued as, well, that's racist, or that's misogynistic, and it is. But they don't mean it that way. I know I didn't mean it that way when I was just going through the fucking flow of life, right? Out in Hollywood, seeing some of the shit I saw. Never saw no pedophilia island. I wasn't part of that clique, if that even exists. Seems like it does. But, you know, but I did see those slime balls. That's why I don't like Trump, because I was in those circles. Like one of my investors, he was a big developer out in West Palm, and the way these guys dealt with women specifically was disgusting. Like, and I was a womanizer, you know, like I slept around, and I prided myself on the numbers I could get. We were pigs in that we would have a competition to see who can get the most phone numbers for the weekend. But, you know, we weren't grabbing people by the pussy. You know what I mean? Like, that's assault. That's a different thing. These guys would.
I know.
I remember he was my agent. He's like, you gotta see this.
But you know that shit's handed down.
I know it's handed down.
It's all handed down. And until they realize that it's not humane to do that, it's going to like continue. And like, you know what, I find it interesting that like I've met some women who are like for Trump, and like they're like 33 or 34 and like have a career, and like you would like, they seem somewhat intelligent, and they're like I just don't understand like how you could be for that, you know?
I mean, I don't understand completely. I think there's some blocks going on.
Oh yeah.
But you know, I had brunch with this woman. She's very intelligent, and she didn't make me see things differently. She made me examine them differently, because she was giving me her thought process, and I'm thinking, well, you know, I can see that. That's what good conversation is. That's what healthy discourse is it didn't change my opinion completely, but it made me start to look at like, okay, let me pay attention to that, because I see that, and maybe I've missed that because I've been so opposed to what I know he stands for.
So when an empath can't understand or find empathy for the position you're taking, or at least find it somewhat curious, it really makes things like a little interesting, you know?
Yeah.
It reminds me of like Clayton Bigsby, you know?
That's fucking one of the greatest characters ever.
You know? It's the same thing.
Yeah, it is. It is. Well, let's get back to spiritual reset. So these are the things that are building in us. Our defense mechanisms. They were there to protect us. Most people haven't experienced trauma at the level that we have, to where we had to reevaluate our entire being. So these things build. You don't know it. You don't know when your next explosion was. With me, the PTSD patterns, I didn't drink every weekend. In fact, I hardly ever drank. The older I got, you know, maybe on the weekends, and then at a certain point, I just didn't feel like getting drunk. But if I ever got caught off guard and this shit was off, all of a sudden I'm blacked out, you know, and that was the only substance that could do it. And then I'm on this fucking ride until my brain reset on its own, like by beating the ego into submission. So the way I learned through therapy to prevent that from happening was, number one, don't take mind-altering substances that are, you know, because you have this very limited place between stimulus and response, right? And if you've dealt with trauma in the way that I have, PTSD specifically, well, there's nothing. You got nothing there. And you're living in a near state of fight or flight your whole life anyway. And you don't need much to have everything pushed back here and blocked off from everything else. So I had to get privy to the emotional response. This emotional response led to this. So words didn't matter to me. And I think people, number one, they don't know they've been traumatized. If you live in America, racism should be classified as a mental disorder, right? It really should. Because if you live here, you've been indoctrinated.
Right.
And everybody, nobody discluded. Like if you grow up in communist Russia, you're a communist just because you live there. Now you might be opposed to it, but you still lived in the system. And if you live within the confines of this system, you're part of it. And I was talking to my neighbor. He's a black guy. He just got back from LA. He was a filmmaker, coincidentally, and we were talking about the same thing. Like we've all been hit, So when a white person hears something like white privilege, right? You've already got this anger built up in you. You don't know it's there. Life's pretty good. You're paying your bills, right? You're not drinking yourself to fucking sleep at night, and it's okay. Life's okay, but it's still lacking. You know what I mean? It's still lacking, but it's good enough. You get in that comfort zone, and then all of a sudden you find yourself snapping on your coworker. You know what I mean? Or firing off on these dumbass threads, and then you're unfriending your fucking brother or your mom, or you know what I mean? Like that's what's coming next. But it has nothing to do with the conversation you just had. It has everything to do with what's been built. And now that becomes your scapegoat. That becomes I can dump all my toxic shit right here. Yeah. If you don't spiritually reset, that can't not happen. You know what I mean? It has to happen because it's got to go somewhere.
I think a lot of people just don't give a shit.
I think they do. I don't think they know how. Because
I think spiritually, some people just don't give a fuck.
And it's true, but they want to. Like there's a part of I didn't give a fuck for most of my young life.
It's like asking someone to change who doesn't want to change.
Right, and you can't go into a conversation trying to change a person.
No,
you can just be the light to the best of your ability.
You could drop as many facts on them as you wanted.
Doesn't matter.
Be the most persuasive person on the planet, but if they're not hearing you, they're not hearing you. They may be listening, but they ain't hearing what you're saying.
Right. Well, and that's the point. So if you understand trauma at a different level, you got to know when you're getting into these things with people. And I got blinded for a second. And probably it was because in my head, I'm expected to act a certain way amongst that crowd, right? I don't give a fuck. That's not me. It hasn't been me in a long time. I'm not putting on that act anymore. But he said some things that drew me out. And it made me understand that, look, if the book winds up doing real well, and then we wind up taking, where the podcast is headed. So if these things wind up happening, that was fucking child's play.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like working out. Like that for me was a workout where I strained something. You know what I mean? I strained something. Now I gotta do some stretches and get back in the ring.
You have to. Not everyone's gonna agree with you.
No.
Not everyone's gonna like you.
Fuck no. Most people won't.
And
not most.
Sooner that I recognize
50-50.
that, and the sooner that I don't allow that to affect my spiritual condition or my ego, the stronger that I'm going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let's get back to spiritual reset. This is why it has to be done. If you don't do it, if you don't do things that are going to cleanse you of the toxins, because these are actual toxins, like people that have back pain but they can't place where it came from, and cramps, and they sleep like shit. It's all part of this. Like this is the shit we store in our bodies. Yeah. So if we don't do and spirit comes first. If you got an unhealthy spirit, it doesn't matter what you do with your mind and body. It doesn't fucking matter. If your soul's out there fucking floundering, everything else is going to be jacked. That's only a house of cards, and then it'll come down eventually. But so what do you do to spiritually? I know me, there's several ways: meditation, stargazing, my ketamine therapy. I mean, I did that. I talked to God on fucking Monday. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
What do I do? I work out a lot. I like driving. I got a new car. I like driving it. I don't know, like, tell you the truth.
Driving was good for me back in the day.
And I've been like on a roller coaster for like the last month, and there are things that go on, like when I start to find resistance or like just shit that doesn't go your way and you want it to go your way, but it's not even like a fucking game changer. You just wanted
You
to
just
go your
would
way.
prefer.
Would prefer because it would be an easier.
Because it's
softer
supposed
way,
to be that way.
you know, and then
Because it makes sense.
and then like, you know, you're like, it just creates like a lot of bullshit, you know, in my brain, and then like I'll start to get worried, you know, and then once I get like off kilter, like I just start praying a lot. I'll start talking with God in the car and be like, dude, I really like, I invite you into my life. I don't know how many days I got to do it consecutively. I'm inviting you in. I need help with this shit. I don't know what to do. And, you know, sometimes it's just that.
Just
you know,
saying that
just
I
saying,
feel compromised.
yeah,
And that's hard to say when you're stuck in the realm of the ego, right? And your defense mechanisms are what you've survived off of. It's hard to discount as valuable. Like that was the hardest part for me. Like when I came out of the old neighborhood, there were parts of me that that I was able to survive with. Like there were things that my dad taught me when I was younger, my biological, that helped carry me through everything.
Yeah.
You know, he taught me how to fight. You know, and I needed to. I was a target for whatever fucking reason. But there came a time in my life where that no longer served me. It's funny. I was using this analogy. So somebody was talking about statues being torn down, and they said, "Oh, it's tearing down our history." They're taking away our history. And I was like, no, they're not. History's still there. It's not going anywhere. And I made the analogy that, so there's parts of me, parts of my ego, parts of my being that that are very much a part of my history. And those survival mechanisms got me through some very tough shit. And I have to recognize that part of me for what it is. And I think I have to give it some love, because thank you for being there for me in those times. But I don't want to walk out and see the statue of it every day. You know what I mean? I don't want to prop it up like it deserves like some kind of fucking praise. No, I'm going to tear that fucking monument down, and I'm going to move on to the next phase of my life. I'll always remember, but I don't need to fucking worship it. I don't need to praise it. And I think that's one of the hardest things to do is when you have parts of yourself that are dysfunctional now, you've grown up, you're in a new frame of existence. When you start to realize that the way you were doesn't serve you in the now, people get attached to the things that served them in the past, and they can't let it fucking go. And that's what we're seeing. We're seeing Trump is the epitome of what the bad parts that America.
The tools that would have helped me 3 years ago don't help me now.
Yeah, no, I completely.
You know, you're gonna evolve out, and you're gonna always have to develop new tools, new skills, new perceptions, new ways of doing things. But you're talking to people, you're talking about a part of the population that's real small that does this.
It's minuscule.
It's minuscule.
But so there's and we gotta keep it on a spiritual reset. We'll go back into tactics that people can use, and it's real simple. It's not real simple. It's hard. It's a difficult practice to get into, and it's very easy to let your ego. Like I remember when I first started meditating, I knew everything about it. I studied everything Deepak Chopra wrote, and then I went into reading fMRI scans, and you know what I mean. Like I understood it logically, but I wouldn't do it. Why wouldn't I do it? Because I was fucking embarrassed to sit in my basement by myself with nobody else around and not be able to do it right. Like my poor little fucking ego could not sit in that space by myself because I was embarrassed that maybe somebody might see me not doing it right. You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of fucking prison we live in, you know? And
interesting prison.
But like when you see what's going on today, I keep going back to Lord, they know not what they do, you know, and people might take that as somebody being sanctimonious or high and mighty, but I'm not. I'm just like, this is my bailout now. Like we're here, you know, there's the trauma, it's surfaced. You're not getting past the amygdala. I wasn't on that day with the troll. Like I got stuck. I got stuck in my monkey mind, but the tactics that I learned in trauma therapy helped pull me out of it to where it didn't turn into where you at, bitch. You know what I mean? Like that's where we're headed.
I don't buy that no more. I don't buy the Lord forgive them, they know not what they do. my mind is these motherfuckers
See?
know the difference between right and wrong.
But what's that's all perspective. It
Yeah.
really is. Like if you're raised in Iran and you're taught everything about jihad and you know what, and we've been bombing your fucking country since you were a baby.
Yeah.
How could you not think you're killing demons? You know what I mean? Like if you really want to walk the spiritual walk, you really got to get into that fucking mindset, and you got to think, well, where did they come from? You know what I mean? Because you really got to find. I do. Like then before I leave, I want Christ consciousness. So I really got to understand this shit.
So you got to you have to wipe out what you label yourself as culturally.
Label yourself. All labels. They have
all
to
labels.
They have to fucking go.
They all gotta go.
At least you can say, well, I do this for a job. With a dime of salt. But everything that you thought you were was a prison because you're so much more. Like everybody. I'm black. I'm white. I'm Asian. I'm gay. You're so much more than any of those things.
I know, and all the groups are like fighting right now for like things to change. Like everyone wants change at the same time.
But go ahead.
And it just, it's like an influx of, it's like mass amounts of liberation trying to be unveiled into a world that.
But neither side wants liberation. If you look at the polarized, they don't want liberation. They want their fucking agenda. And
so the idea is liberation.
Right. Hide behind the guise of liberation, but it's my agenda.
On one side, you have this group who's being funded by so-and-so, and then you have the other group that's being funded by so-and-so.
Calling each other sheeple.
And so
when they're all sheeple.
So your rules or guidelines that you're going to live by in your group and your ideologies are funded. You have a funded ideology.
Now you can't deviate.
Now, what's your truth? Doesn't exist because it ain't fucking truth.
Well, the truth just got manufactured for you. And it's crazy to see.
For a fucking check. For a fucking dollar sign.
Well, and it is too, because a lot of the Trump supporters, and look, I'm trying to look at this guy in a different light, just because I think it's valuable for me to grow spiritually. I gotta try to dig into who people are, why. If he's fucking textbook narcissism, right? And if you go back into his history as a child, you gotta. I mean, you don't have to, but I do. I feel some sympathy because he's never known anything but a spreadsheet as value for him. And if he doesn't achieve that, well, he's a fucking loser. He doesn't deserve dad's love. All he's doing out there is trying to get dad to love him. Dad's gone. You know what I mean? But that's the trauma that gets built up. So you put on this show. So I'm trying to look at these things, and you see, you talked about liberation. There's a silent majority, a true silent majority, because fucking Trump, Biden, if you are fucking like passionately behind either one of those sides, you're fucking sheeple. Period. Like you are both sheeple, calling each other sheeple, flip side of the same fucking coin. You have no idea that you're standing on the coin together. You have no clue. But then there's these people that are standing off the coin, people like me and you, and so a lot of the people at Unity who believe in oneness and who believe that you can have healthy discourse without tearing the other person down, and that you have to, and that you can have healthy disagreements. And that's who needs to come to the surface. That's who we need to surface.
When's the last time you've been in the forest, brother?
And well, I'm in the forest. Are you talking about?
No, like a legitimate, like the woods.
I got woods
nature
in the backyard.
I'm not talking backyard. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's been shit. I don't know. Probably a couple years ago, up at we did the trail.
So like I detach from all that shit. I can't. Dude, I can't.
But we can't. We can't.
I haven't turned on the TV in a week.
I feel like it's my responsibility because I have a voice. I have an ability. Number one, like people who know me, they know what the fuck my life was, right? So they know I'm not just some guy out there spouting shit from a book. Like there's some shit that went down, and I just hope that I hope that I can be an example for some. And I do. I get a lot of inbox messages from people from the old neighborhood that are like, I can't believe they're even thinking that way. So it's a fucking beautiful thing to see when people start to make a shift, right?
Yeah.
And as long as you're not an asshole about trying to force them into a shift, you're just trying to be a light as best you can. I'm gonna fuck up. I fucked up this weekend. I'm gonna fuck up all the time, but I'm gonna be honest about the fuck ups. You know what I mean? Like, there's two sides that can't be honest. They can't even say, because it's so ingrained in their being that if they say the person that they supported is not the right choice, like, oh shit, that's going to crumble them, because it's so attached to who they are as a human, on both sides. So if you're on either side, you're fucking sheeple. You know what I mean? That's it. And you're calling each other sheeple. And you're trying to shove your agenda down each other's fucking throats, and it's not going to work. And then, we got this fucking silent majority. When do we come to the surface? You know what I mean? When do we mobilize and stand in between these two fucking groups and say, shut the fuck up. Be quiet. Not shut the fuck up. Like, this is me and you fucking rambling back and forth.
When are you going to mobilize?
It's funny. You want to do these are fun social experiments. So put a word like mobilize out there and don't define it. Leave it vague. And you can see the mindset of the people who are in that anger, that fear, that fucking, because they'll take it military. That military mobilization, that's where their mind goes immediately. Military mobilization. And then I think I posted a picture of Martin Luther King peacefully mobilizing down at the Capitol when he gave his I Have a Dream speech. I'm like, no, that's what I was talking about. But it's good to see who's, the interpretation, because it's all interpretation.
You're
it's all
a little
perspective.
social experiment.
I'm doing it all the time. I'm putting shit out there all the time, and I'm trying to gauge people's mindsets. I want to know. I want to understand people. And you can't truly understand a person in conversation when they're defensive. Like, people are defensive with everybody and every fucking thing. They're being attacked. You're not being attacked. I haven't attacked anybody except for this. And it wasn't even an attack. It was just like, get the fuck out of here. Piss hand, I think I called him too. Like, just go, move on. And I was demeaning, and I shouldn't have been. But there's some of the people who feel attacked by shit that I put out there, and it has nothing to do with them. You know what I mean? Nothing whatsoever. I'm not attacking you. No. That's the last thing I'm fucking doing. I'm saying what I believe,
Yeah, it's hard to, like, especially on, like, Messenger or on the computer, like, people interpret messages.
It's all perspective.
Like, in a negative light. Like, it's your father talking, like, and, like, the person could be simply totally chill, just trying to have a conversation, but it's all on how you take
perception.
It. Yeah.
Mobilize was funny. I'm like, I looked at it for 2 hours before I made that post, and I was like, do I really want to get into this? Because I know what's going to happen, right? I know. I already know. I know what the fuck I'm doing. So I looked at it for 2 hours in the morning. I'm like, fuck it. I pressed the button, and it fucking lit up. It lit up, and it brought the trolls out. It brought good people and good conversation out too, but you see the people that are living in fear, that are angry, that are scared, they went straight to military. And if you paid attention to anything that my posts every day leading up to that, I'm peace, man. I ain't trying to fucking go out there and, I will stand in front of some bullets. I believe in that. I believe, like, if it gets out of control, that we mobilize and we stand there and we make it known that this is our place. You know what I mean? You're not going to come in here and take the power from the people. So you might have to take a couple bullets. You know what I mean? A couple of rubber bullets or whatever the fuck. It's not go down there and fight. That's a losing. That's a zero-sum game. You're going to go down there and fight fucking Trump's paramilitary? Yeah, you're going to get party. You know what I mean? That's going to get you real fucking power. That's going to be a bunch of dead people. And it's going to be justification to send in more. And then we really lose power as a people. So that's just asinine.
Or it goes the other way. And more people mobilize.
You still, like, we live in a place where if the government wants, they can extract your tooth from a fucking satellite. You know what I mean? You don't win that war. Like, you can go down there and mix it up, but the second this government ever wants to shut it down, they shut it down. That's why the right to bear arms, that's great. You got the right to bear arms. Fuck are you gonna do with it? You might protect your house until they fucking run a drone over it and blow the motherfucker up and everybody in it. Like, honestly, the technology is too, we're we're at the whim of the government if they ever want. That's why.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
I don't see how you could.
You give me 50 million U.S. citizens heavily armed, you'll see a good fight.
No, you'll see a good fight because they'll have to decide what part do I want to damage the place that I'm trying to secure, like from the political,
It'll definitely be,
peaceful protests, and you can still damage some shit if you're standing against the federal government. I have no problem with graffiti being on that building. You have no right to hurt anybody, but if a person has been oppressed their entire fucking life just because of the color of their skin, I'm okay with you putting some spray paint on some shit to make a point. Like, I got no problem with that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's bigger than that. I think it's bigger than that.
Well, what?
I just think that.
See, we're going off the fucking reset.
Yeah.
But let's keep going because we got time to come back. I don't know.
I just think it's bigger than like graffiti on. Like. I don't know if peaceful protests actually get anything done.
They do, and they're the only ones that have ever stood the test of time. Yeah, and I'll have this conversation with people. They talk about Martin Luther King and he tried, it didn't work. Everybody's so focused, like you can't be attached to outcome. Yes, we wanted civil rights to take heed right then, because when you get another Martin Luther King, right, that's what the world genuinely needs right now.
You can't say don't attach yourself to outcome.
You can't.
When it's fucking a human normality to have expectations.
But that's in Buddhism.
So it's my expectation.
You can't have expectations though. And now we're getting into some deeply Buddhist principles about expectation and non-attachment. And the all human suffering comes from your attachment to your beliefs on the way things should be. So that's why people suffer. It's not because okay, so I feel like, and I don't feel like this because I'm not attached, but I feel like my son should go through the rest of his life healthy. He shouldn't get cancer.
Right.
That's a belief. I don't really believe that because I know better. Because who the fuck is to say that, I'm part of this world. I'm vulnerable just like anybody else. And if I'm over there crumbling because I thought he shouldn't, and I'm at his bedside and I can't be a strong figure in that moment, well, I do him a disservice. But because I'm not, it doesn't mean I won't feel pain, right? If something like that were to happen, if I lose somebody real close to me, I'm gonna feel pain, but I'm not attached. Well, that's the thing. You don't have to suffer. So if you have somebody close to you die, you're gonna feel pain, right? And you just went through this, but it's your belief that person was supposed to live forever that will make you suffer. Like, you can't get past
that. Yeah, you can't, so I don't ever think anyone needs to live forever, but I think...
or too soon. How many people say that?
Yeah.
Gone too soon.
It's just, it's the amount of power in the relationship, like my old man, I come from a single parent household. It was me and my old man, and in the early years, there was a lot of trying times. It was 86. He got took in the divorce for a shit ton of money, and he had to move back to the house that he grew up in. I moved there, and he worked year round, and he was like a school teacher. So most school teachers get the summers off. He worked year round for like 3 years straight just to catch up.
Yeah.
Just to catch up financially and everything. And it was like a team effort, like the first 2 years, dude. I'm talking like fucking rice-a-roni and hamburger helper every night.
Goulash was our
Yes, goulash.
Goulash, because they remember the government fucking...
it was goulash, or he would call it glop.
Glop. My mom's German, so goulash. We were getting our goulash on. Big ass blocks of cheese.
And it was, you just had this like team mentality.
Yeah.
And like, He was my confidant, my best friend, my business partner, all that shit. So like when his transformation happened, you know, I was real hurt in the beginning. And what was fucked up is like my stepbrother called me like two nights after he had passed. He's like, dude, he's like, I'm gonna tell you something. If you don't know about the 7 stages of grief, you're gonna want to look that shit up, dude, because it's pretty much the playbook on how things go. He's like, when my mom passed, dude, like it took like a month before the shit really hit me, and like it sparked a fucking depression, and like it was just bad. And I was like, yeah, thanks, bro. You know, like I got it from here.
I'm good.
Got a support
That's that
team.
ego.
Yeah, I got a support team. It's all good. You know, got some spiritual tools in my motherfucking bag. You know, I didn't tell him that, but yeah, dude, like he was right all along. He was completely right. You know, and like a couple weeks later, man, like, dude, you're just like, you got this void, and I have the house, and I'm trying to clean the house, and like my sister wants certain shit, and I'm going through pictures, and it's just like,
That's when that spiritual talk starts to break down. Like, you have to experience it.
And then like, you know, you don't want to go to work, you know, like I didn't want to work, still don't want to work. Like work was like, when are you coming back? You know, like I came back within a week, and I'm just like, this sucks.
See, now this right here, this is the valuable stuff. Like these conversations, if we can just, so we're talking to somebody and they're getting out of hand, they're getting real passionate and angry that you're not agreeing with them. There's got to be a way in that conversation to figure out I mean, you can even question them and say, where is this coming from? And they'll take it offensively. It comes from nowhere, from this, fuck this shit, you know what I mean? Like, so, because I used to get like that. I would get called on my being angry. I remember a girlfriend back in California did it. She's like, why are you so angry all the time? And I was real angry at her. And I said, I'm not fucking angry. And I used aggression to try to back her down from ever calling me angry again.
Maybe
I didn't know I was angry. I really didn't know.
Maybe people should use a different mantra. Like,
Are
you okay?
You know, that's what I try.
Are you okay?
Or why? You know,
Yeah.
why do you feel like that? You know, I'm trying to get more into the why. You can't do it when somebody's a dumbass. And not, but when somebody is just a wall of fucking dumb, like this guy was, like he's here to disrupt, right? He's not here to learn anything. He's not here to give a valid opinion on anything. He's here to disrupt, or she, you know what I mean? So when that happens,
that's what trolls do. I mean,
I've never experienced it. He did a good job. He did a real good job. Like I thought I was a fucking
just wait till the bots come in, man.
Oh my fucking god, dude! You know, and that's when I told you we're scaling up with this.
Yeah.
And then the book's gonna come out. This was a valuable workout session for me. But going back to the whole point of this, everything we've talked about, it discusses the lead in to the breakdown, right? So if you don't address these things, the whole fucking country is broke down. Like everybody has not spiritually reset because they don't know how to. And some people are so angry they would look at it and be, I fuck that woo-woo shit. So I know I used to be that way.
People aren't sharing spiritual knowledge to get people
But they
to
are.
reset.
But they are.
Not
I do.
everyone.
No,
You
not
do.
every, and it's funny,
But
some of the people I'll argue with politically, and they still take these strong stances, they're on those posts, and we'll have conversations about them. It's crazy.
so you got 45 million Americans unemployed.
Oh, it's tough, man.
And like the people that are afraid that, you know, their health care is running out, fucking
It's scary.
The money's running out.
It's fucking scary.
You know, the
No doubt.
unemployment's getting weakened.
And look,
You know, and like where is the income gonna come from? What am I gonna do?
look, there's no taking away from that. But you know what you do? You form community. You know, because here's the thing. This is all smoke and mirrors. This economy was collapsing anyway. And Corona, okay, let's do it now. You know what I mean? Let's get it fucking over with. We're headed for a depression. It's gonna happen. Like the writing's on the fucking wall. My friends out on Wall Street, they've known this shit. They've been putting their shit offshore for a long fucking time. Like, you know it's coming if you know, right? But this is smoke and mirrors. Let's get through this election, on both sides. They both have a vested interest in presenting that we're on the uptick. We're not. This economy's not. Things have changed and they're not going back to what they were. So I understand that fear when everything you were just got swept the fuck out from under you. I get it. And I guess I got to find a way to be more sympathetic to it, because maybe that guy was going through some fucking real hard shit in his life. And I call him a bitch,
Maybe he's going on his second month of being unemployed and he's losing his benefits.
Has no idea where he's going to, and that's why, like, that makes me think now. Now I'm thinking I should have been more compassionate, because you never know what another person's going through. And if you have that spiritual knowledge and you speak it, you need to exercise. So for me, that was a misstep for me. I need to exercise it more. But the spiritual reset, got to get back to it. Just for anybody out there who hasn't meditated, try it. Do it for a week. Do it for 5 minutes. Do it for 1 minute. Just do it. Just do it. Like, you're gonna notice a change within a week. I promise you. Go outside, look at the stars. That works for me. Well, there's no gym. Can't go to the gym.
I got a gym.
But you can go jog.
My gym's open.
I mean, for anybody who's interested, ketamine therapy is legal in Michigan now. Michigan Progressive Health does it. That's where my therapist is. And if it wasn't for ketamine, I would have never broke through the walls to see what unconditional love was. Once I experienced that, it opened up new neural pathways. And 2008, I've never been the same. I've been on a upward trajectory ever since then. And I had my missteps in between, no doubt. But I'm back in that therapy now, and it's extremely profound. So if you can't meditate, it's chemically induced meditation. That's what that is. We're not talk to a. I don't want to start promoting mushrooms and all that other shit for people who don't know how to use them. But there are people called psychedelic integration therapists. That's what mine is. They have masters. That's the thing now. So, but try meditating. It's the easiest thing you can do. Get up in the morning, go sit for a minute, let the thoughts. Don't judge yourself for the thoughts you're having. Exercise, because I can promise that I don't think most of you out there right now know what kind of pain you're in. It's so obvious to me. It's obvious to you. People that have had to work on themselves and went off into more of a spiritual existence, mindset, a constant stage of growth. I still have a long way to go, but I can see it. It's so visible, the fear, the pain, and it's justifiable. So why not live there? I know why I don't want to live there, because I'll devour myself. And that's what I see friends doing right now. And I see people who aren't friends, and it's painful to watch. Like, there's only one way we come out of this. And if we know 40 million people are going to lose their jobs, well, how can we be there for them, the people that aren't? You know what I mean? Like, how can we hold the government as a whole? Not fuck Democrats and Republicans, they're both bad. The flip side, same coin. At least the power structures that exist at that level. How do we get them to work for us? If Trump winds up being the president, how do we get him to work for us? Not for that group who's angry about that shit, but us as a collective. How do we do that? How do we start those conversations? If it's going to be Biden, how do we get him to work for us? How do we tell these motherfuckers it's we the people, not you? You're not the people, we the people. You know what I mean? Like, how do we do that without violence? We got to be getting close to the end soon. So where are we at right now on time? So we got 2 minutes. The Antifa people. So that generation has been abandoned by us, right? There's no policy that supports them in any way, shape, or form. The corporatocracy has relegated them to consumers and consumers only. So these kids are out here angry as fuck. They don't even know why they're angry. You know what I mean? And there's a good thing to rally behind racism. Yeah, it's bad. Let's go there. but then they get out there and they're fucking confused, and then, you know, and they're too easily prompted by people on the sidelines calling them different shit.
Yeah.
Everybody's too easily prompted into this fucking aggressive behavior, and it's fucking up the movement. You know what I mean? Not completely. I think the movement, I think they did their test in Portland. I think they found out that it's not going anywhere. You know, and I hope that prompts change, but yeah, man, we could go on it. We got to lengthen these episodes.
Yeah.
But Sean was supposed to leave. He was going on a spiritual walkabout. He's not now until the 28th, so we got him for a couple more episodes. And you got anything on the way out?
I'm good.
Fucking human condition, man.
101.
Be good to each other. Keep with the comments and messages. We get to them all eventually. And yeah, man, find a way to be good to your neighbor. Go hug a Democrat and Republican tonight. They need it the most.
At the same time.
At the same time, get a freeway with them. All right.